Hello YouTube, this is a video for Erie parties. For those not in the know, and that'll be most everyone but me in Erie, way back several months ago, Erie commented on one of my vids and said some things for which he's now apologised. As far as I'm concerned, he's apologised and given a reason for why I was feeling the way he was and said what he said. No harm, no foul, water under the bridge and all that. Instead, I'm going to concentrate on the thing he said that was bothering him. And Erie, I don't know how long you've been a theist, and if you were ever a Christian, but you live in a country where Christianity is fairly pervasive, and your words, from what you've said, you've absorbed a lot of their attitudes when it comes to things like sex, your views on non-believers, what kind of a theist you are. And one of the things I think you've absorbed their attitudes on is death. You've said that you used to have nightmares that nothing was all around you. You fear oblivion is not quite the right word, but it's the one we use most often, the long eternal darkness of nothingness. However, as a human, it's very hard to understand this oblivion, because when we picture it, we picture ourselves floating there in that eternal nothing, alone and forgotten. And this really terrifies us because, as humans, isolation and sensory deprivation are some of the worst possible punishments. And you say you have a trust in a God, I presume, to save you from this fate. But that picture of oblivion, that's not what it actually is. It's so hard to visualise with a brain designed for hunting and gathering, but to steal an idea from Mark Twain, imagine what you experienced before you were conceived, or the deepest, most dreamless sleep. It's not that we experience nothing, it's that we don't have any capacity to experience anything. We're not surrounded by nothing, we are nothing. At least that bit of us that makes us, that's no more. The rest of us, the meat and the bones, that continues to exist, of course, but it returns to the cycles of nature, and eventually our atoms will go on to make up new life and everything. You said, who knows what's next for us? And I'll agree with you there. No one, to my knowledge, has produced any reliable, testable evidence of anything occurring after death that could be construed as supernatural or an afterlife. This lack of evidence doesn't, of course, prove that there is no afterlife. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, and it means that therefore the possibility of anything is there. But I think it shows a fairly reasonable assumption to make that there isn't one. As my father once said, I don't expect there to be an afterlife, but if I'm proven wrong, I shall be pleasantly surprised. You expressed pain about not knowing what happens and not being able to know, and that the finite nature of life's joys were unable to compensate. Not knowing used to bother me too, but then I realised that if we have no way of knowing, there's little point in worrying. I mean, que sera sera. This isn't hiding from your fear, but confronting it, accepting it, that unless there's some revolution in science, we can't know, and then getting on with what makes life meaningful and important. See, for me, the real way to beat the fear of death is ask myself what the worst possible outcome of death is, which might be some sort of hell or active torture, or the passive torture of eternal isolation, or worse, an eternity of songs of praise. But I realised the really worst outcome of death, no matter what happened to my conscious mind once I was dead, would be that if I'd wasted the stuff I could control, worrying about the stuff I couldn't. There's no shame in being scared to die. I've met decorated combat veterans who were most definitely scared to die and not ashamed to say it. I don't quite agree with Adams Fanatic's recent statement in this video, I'll try and put it there, that everyone is scared to die, but I know I'm not looking forward to it myself, even if I don't actually fear the state of being dead. The worst outcome of death would be to waste your life on worrying about it when you could be out and about enjoying yourself and doing good works. And so I'll finish with a quote from William Penn. Although he was a Quaker and believed in an afterlife, I think it's a fairly good expression of my attitude to life and death as an atheist. I expect to pass through life but once. If, therefore, there can be any kindness I can show, or any good thing I can do to any fellow being, let me do it now, and not defer or neglect it, as I shall not pass this way again. Bye, YouTube.